He had just finished a long 12-hour shift fixing ventilation systems in Sector 9 of the colony. His boots were dirty, his hands covered in dust, and all he wanted was a hot meal and a few hours of sleep in peace. Haven 7 wasn't a bad place to live, but it was no Earth. It was cold, dry, and always buzzing with the sound of machines. He stepped into his small metal quarters and froze. There was someone inside. Girl, not human. She sat quietly on the floor near his bed, arms wrapped tightly around her knees. Skin was a soft ash gray, and her long silver hair fell across her shoulders like silk. She wore what looked like a torn military cloak, with a strange symbol stitched near the collar one he didn't recognize at first. Her silver eyes watched him silently, full of fear, curiosity, and something else. Something deep. Raylan dropped the toolbox from his hand. "Who are you?" he asked carefully, stepping backward toward the hallway. The girl didn't answer. She just stared. He reached for the emergency cum on the wall and pressed it. "Security. This is Technician Ward. There's an unknown visitor in my quarters. Non-human, possibly injured. Please advise." There was a pause. Then the cum crackled back. "Understood, technician. Stand by." Raylan kept his eyes on her. She made no move, just stared with wide, unblinking eyes. She looked young. Maybe 15 or 16 in human years, though alien biology was hard to judge. She didn't seem dangerous. But still, how had she gotten past the gates? Then he noticed something strange. A folded piece of paper pinned to her chest. He walked slowly toward her. She flinched but didn't run. He gently pulled the note from her cloak and opened it. Only one sentence was written in shaky common. "She is yours now. Protect her," Raylan blinked. What is this? Some kind of joke? Before he could think further, his room door slid open. 2 colony guards entered, both human. One scanned the girl silently. The other looked at Raylan with a tight expression. "She's not registered, no ID, but she has diplomatic clearance encoded in her biotag," the taller one said. "What does that mean?" Raylan asked. The second guard shrugged. "No idea." "Orders from admin. She's under your care now." "My care?" Raylan's eyes widened. "I don't even know who she is." The guards didn't argue. They just gave him a quick nod and left. The door hissed shut behind them. Raylan turned back to the girl. She was still staring, still silent. He sighed and rubbed his face. "Well, guess we're roommates now." He tried talking to her again. Slowly. "Do you have a name?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Salari." Her voice was soft and musical, but dry, like she hadn't spoken in days. "You're hurt," he said, noticing a burn on her right arm. It wasn't bleeding, but it looked painful. She pulled the cloak tighter and said nothing more. Raylan opened a small med kit and held up a spray. "This will help. Let him treat the wound," flinching only a little. She was strong, or used to pain. Raylan sat on his bed across from her. "So, Salari, who left you here?" She didn't answer. "Why did they say you're mine now? Still nothing?" He leaned back, confused, a little scared, and very tired. He decided not to push her tonight. Instead, he handed her a protein bar and a water bottle. She looked at both, then took them slowly as she ate. Raylan opened a secure line to the Central Command AI. Maybe the human leaders could tell him what was going on. The screen lit up. "Hello, Technician Ward," said the emotionless voice. "I have a Theriani girl in my quarters," he said directly. "The guards said she's my responsibility. What is going on?" The AI paused, then answered, "The girl poses no threat. You are advised to keep her safe and undisturbed. Further instructions will follow." "That's not an answer," Raylan said, frowning. "Why me?" Another pause. No further data available. Then the screen went black. Raylan cursed under his breath. None of this made sense. The Therani were not allies. They were cold, quiet, and dangerous. Half the galaxy feared them. He looked over at Salari. She was already curled up in the corner, fast asleep. Just a scared kid. Left in his room like a lost pet. But this wasn't a pet. This was a political mystery, and something told him the people who put her here were watching him closely. He stayed awake, thinking. Hours passed. Just before dawn, he heard her speak again. Her voice was calm this time. Flat. They're coming for me. Raylan turned toward her. Who is? But she was already asleep again. Raylan stared at the dark ceiling of his quarters, a chill running through him. He had no answers. Only one thing was clear. This girl, this alien, wasn't left here by accident. Raylan Ward woke up with a stiff neck and a head full of questions. The strange alien? Girl Solari was still asleep in the corner, curled up like a quiet shadow. The blanket he had tossed her in the night was wrapped tightly around her. Silver hair glowed faintly in the early lights of Haven 7's artificial sunrise. Raylan hadn't slept well. Her last words echoed in his mind. They're coming for me. Who was coming? And why had they left her with him? He stood, stretched, and carefully made some food. Simple heat pack of protein stew. The smell filled the room. She stirred, eyes blinking slowly, as if waking from a dream she didn't want to leave. I made breakfast, Raylan said, not sure if she even liked human food. She sat up silently and took the bowl when he handed it over. She sipped slowly. It's warm, she said softly. He sat across from her again. We need to talk, Solari. I need to know more. She didn't speak at first, just kept eating. Last night, he continued, you said someone was coming. Her hands stopped moving. She lowered the bowl. Soldiers, she whispered. From my world, my father sent them. Why? To take you back? She looked up at him, her silver eyes now shining with something deeper fear. Maybe guilt. To kill me? Raylan froze. What? I left without permission, she said. There are people who want peace, people like me, but others. They want war to continue. If I return, the peace ends. Raylan stared at her. This was too big. He was just a maintenance tech. He fixed doors and ducts, not political problems. Why bring you here? He asked. Why me? She tilted her head, studying him. Because you've sent your ... safe. You have no power, no enemies, and no loyalty to leaders. You are invisible. Raylan laughed nervously. Well, thanks. I think she nodded once seriously. That's why you were chosen. Raylan leaned back. Okay, even if I believe all that ... still don't know who brought you here. Or what I'm supposed to do. Suddenly, she leaned forward. You have access to the inner colony systems? Yes? He hesitated. Limited access. Maintenance level. I need to connect to the relay hub, she said. I must send a signal. Raised an eyebrow. That's high security. Even I can't reach it, you can, she said. I've seen your pathings. You walk past the panel near the Hydrogrid tower twice a day. Raylan stared at her. How do you know that? I memorized the routes, she replied. I studied this colony before I came. He stood up slowly. It's not public. Data, that's restricted. I know, she said calmly. Raylan felt cold. Who are you really, Salary? She looked down. More than I look, but less than I should be. Before he could say more, the door beeped. A message flashed across. The screen, system alert. Shuttle crash detected quadrant 12. Stand by. Raylan's heart jumped. That was near the outer fence. He pressed his wrist. Ward 2 Central. What happened at quadrant 12? A brief pause, then a robotic voice replied, Routine atmospheric failure. No danger. Continue your duties. Was too fast. Too clean. Raylan looked at Salari. She was already standing. They're here, she whispered. They found me. He grabbed his emergency kit and pushed it into her hands. We're moving now. They took the back hallway, avoiding cameras where they could. Raylan led her through tunnels used by workers for wiring and waistlines paths. He knew like the back of his hand. No one followed. After 20 minutes, they reached an old unused cargo bay. Raylan sealed the door behind them and set a motion alarm. She sat down, breathing heavily. He sat across from her. Tell me the truth now, he said. All of it. She nodded. My name is Salari Venkaran, daughter of the Therioni War King. Raylan blinked. Your royalty? I was, she said, until I chose peace. She explained that a group within her people wanted to stop the endless fighting between Therioni and humans. Her father refused. So her mother, a secret supporter of peace, helped smuggle her off the planet with stolen data maps, tech secrets, and communication codes. If shared with humanity, they could build a true alliance. But if the warlords find me, she said, they will kill me and destroy any chance of peace. Raylan was quiet. This was no longer just about a strange girl in his room. This was galactic politics, spies, and war. How long do we have? He asked. Not long, she said. It will search the whole colony soon. Raylan stood. Then we need help. Real help. He tapped his cum and opened a secret Chinola backup only engineers knew about. He contacted an old friend, Nina. Rue, a security tech with a history of bending rules. She owed him favors. Big ones. She answered in a whisper. Raylan, why are you using a black line? I've got someone who's not supposed to be here, he said. And people who want her dead. A pause. You're serious? Dead serious. Nina cursed. All right, send location. Raylan looked at Salari. She had gone pale, but her hands were steady. He asked softly, Are you scared? She looked up. Yes, but I trust you. He didn't know. Why that made his chest feel heavy. Outside, far off, alarms began to echo. The hunt had... The cargo bay was quiet, but Raylan's mind was loud. He paced back and forth, glancing at the door every few seconds. Outside, alarms rang in short bursts. Security was on the move. Not random patrols, not drills. Someone was looking for something. Or someone. Salari sat silently in the shadows. Her silver eyes watched Raylan without blinking. She looked calm, but Raylan knew better. Her fingers gripped her cloak tightly, and her breathing was shallow. He checked his wrist cum again. Still no reply from Nina. Come on, ... he muttered. Finally. A soft beep. A message appeared. Near Cargo Bay 2. 30 seconds. Raylan opened the small service hatch and waved. Nina slipped in like a ghost, short and sharpied, wearing an old engineer's coat and carrying a stun pistol. Tell me this isn't what I think it is, she said, stepping in and spotting. Salari Raylan didn't answer. He just nodded. Nina looked Salari over. This is bad, really bad. She needs protection, Raylan said. Someone smuggled her in. Now her own people want her dead. People are saying a foreign shuttle crashed outside the walls, Nina whispered. No signals sent. No answers from Central Command. They're hiding something. Theriani soldiers, Raylan asked. Probably. And if they're here, they won't leave without blood. Raylan turned to Salari. Can we trust anyone? She shook her head. Not many. Some humans may help, but my people will kill anyone in their way, even civilians. Nina stepped back. Okay, so what's the plan? Salari stood slowly. We must get to the old cum relay. If I upload the peace data, it will go to both governments. Once it's public, they can't hide me anymore. Too dangerous, Raylan said. That place is wide open. I have no choice, she replied. If I run forever, peace will die. Nina bit her lip. I can get you inside. But I won't. It'll be risky. Just then, the wall behind them shuddered. Boom. Dust fell from the ceiling. Second later, the emergency lights flickered. Raylan's heart stopped. Then came footsteps. Heavy, slow, not human boots. Raylan grabbed the stun pistol from Nina and motioned for Salari. To hide behind the crates, the door slammed open. Two tall figures stepped into the room. They wore dark armor with jagged edges Theriani soldiers. Their helmets had red slits for eyes, and their skin underneath was pale blue with markings like battle tattoos. They scanned the room. Raylan raised the pistol. Stop right there. One soldier tilted his head. Human, he growled. Hand over the girl. I don't know who you're talking about, Raylan said, trying to keep his hand from shaking. The second soldier moved toward him. Salari stood. Up suddenly, both soldiers stopped. The first soldier stared. Princess Salari, you should not have left the royal fleet. I left to stop a war, she said boldly. But you would rather see the galaxy burn. We obey your father, the second soldier said. Your death will bring unity. Raylan fired the stunt pistol. The bolt hit the nearest soldier in the chest. He dropped with a crash. The other lunged forward. Roaring, Nina jumped and hit the emergency shock switch on the wall. Sparks burst from the floor beneath the soldier's feet. He convulsed and fell with a groan. Smoke filled the air. Run, Raylan shouted. They ran. Through the side exit into a narrow tunnel, Solari's cloak flowing behind her. Alarms screamed louder. No security forces were aware of the fight, but they'd probably been told a different story. Maybe that a dangerous intruder was on the loose. They couldn't trust anyone. Raylan led them through back maintenance shafts until they reached the edge of the colony near the old relay tower. The building was shut down years ago, but still powered by backup cells. Nina pried the lock open. I'll hold the door. You to get it done. Inside, the relay room was dusty and full of blinking lights. Celery moved fast, pressing keys and entering alien code. Raylan didn't understand half of it, but the terminal came to life. What's in the data? Raylan asked. Star maps, she said. Medical advancements. A full Theriani language pack for translation. Proof that peace can benefit both sides. She placed a small device on the terminal. Raylan watched the bar crawl across the screen. 12%, 33%, 61%. Then he heard footsteps again. A loud shout outside. Nina screamed. Raylan turned to the door just in time to see it burst open. A new figure entered, taller than the others. His armor was darker, smoother. His face was visible, marked with silver lines. Eyes like stone, Solari gasped. Commander Vethin? The Theriani officer looked at her coldly. You were a mistake. Raylan raised the pistol again. Stay back. Vethin laughed. You think a tool like that can stop me? He rushed forward. Alan fired, hit the commander in the leg. He stumbled, but didn't fall. Raylan tried again, empty. Vethin struck him hard, knocking him to the floor. He turned to Salary. Your father sends his regrets. She held up the device. Then tell him I've already finished. The screen blinked. Transmission complete. Across the stars, the message had been sent. Commander Vethin's face changed. No. Behind him, Nina, bloody but standing, slammed a metal rod into the back of his head. He dropped, unconscious. Solari fell to her knees, shaking. Raylan crawled to her side. You okay? She nodded slowly. It's done. The galaxy will see the truth. Raylan helped her up, his arm wrapped around her shoulder. For now, they had survived. But the war wasn't over. Not yet. The sun on Haven 7 was a pale, artificial glow. It lit the colony's surface with soft yellow light, but inside the command tower, tension was thick and real. Raylan stood next to Silari and Nina inside a secure room beneath the old relay tower. The message had been sent. Across the galaxy, governments, ships, and leaders were receiving it Solari's truth. The data she risked her life to protect, but the danger wasn't over. It had only changed, the moment the transmission ended. Raylan's come lit up with alerts. The Colony Council had issued a security lockdown. Entry points were sealed. All unauthorized life forms were to be detained. That meant Salari, and probably Raylan too. They're trying to control the fallout, Nina said, scanning the signals. They don't want the people to know what just happened. Too late, Raylan said. The data's out there. It's not to everyone. Solari replied. The Council may still stop it from spreading on this colony. We need help before they erase it here, Raylan thought quickly. We need someone on the inside. Someone high enough to expose the truth. Nina snapped her fingers. Counselor Damar, he's one of the few leaders who wanted peaceful contact with the Theriani. He may listen. He's under watch, Raylan said. We'll never get close. I know a way, Nina smiled. But it's risky. They left the relay station at night, moving through old tunnels once used for cargo bots. Raylan led the way, flashlight in hand. Solari stayed close, her hood pulled low over her silver hair. Nina brought up the rear, checking for trackers. At one turn, Raylan paused and pushed open a loose panel. Behind it was a dark tunnel, barely large enough to crawl through. "What is that?" Solari asked. "Old waste duct," he said. "Leads straight into the administrative center. Most people don't even know it exists." They climbed inside one by one. The tunnel was narrow, dusty, and smelled like metal and rust. It was quiet. Safe. As they reached the far end, Raylan opened another hatch and peered out. They were behind a stack of old storage, crates near the council hall, no one in sight. They slipped out and moved carefully through the halls. Security drones buzzed nearby, but Nina used her handheld jammer to scramble them for a few seconds, just enough time to slip past. Finally, they reached Counselor DeMar's office. Raylan knocked in a special rhythman, old engineer signal. A moment later, the door opened slightly, and an older man with gray eyes and a sharp voice pulled them inside. "Ward? What are you doing here?" DeMar asked. Then he saw Salary, and his eyes widened. "That's her, ... the girl." "She's not just the girl," Raylan said. "She's the reason this war could end." They told him everything who Salary truly was. The data she sent, the soldiers who tried to stop her, and the council's lies. DeMar listened in silence. When they finished, he turned to Solari. "You're very brave," he said softly. "Your people are lucky to have you." "I don't know if they think that," she replied. He nodded. "The council won't like this, but I believe in the truth. I'll call a public emergency meeting and play your message to the colony." "Will they let you?" Nina asked. "They'll try to stop me," DeMar said, "but I won't let them." 2 hours later, every screen in the colony flashed with a new message. Council broadcast. Emergency assembly citizens gathered in the square. Workers left their stations. Guards lined the streets. Everyone watched. Counselor DeMar stepped onto the podium with a datapad in hand. "This colony was built on peace," began. "But peace means nothing without truth." He played Solari's transmission, her voice calm and steady. She introduced herself as Salari Venkaran, daughter of the Theriani War King. She explained her escape, the peace plan, and the data gift maps, healing technology, language packs.
Wow.
She spoke not as a royal, but as a child of two worlds. Gasps filled the crowd. Whispers turned into shouts. Then someone yelled, "She's lying." Raylan turned. A group of armed men in colony uniforms were pushing through the crowd. Their leader was Commander Hallen, head of internal security. "She's a spy," he shouted. "She's here to destroy us." He raised his weapon. Raylan stepped in front of Salari. "Move, Ward," Hallen barked. "No," Raylan said firmly. "You're afraid of peace because it takes away your power." Hallen scowled. "Peace built on lies is still a lie." DeMar stepped forward. "Then, let the people decide. You think she's a threat? Let the people hear her words. Let them see the data. Let them choose the future." The crowd started chanting, "Show us the truth." Under pressure, Hallen lowered his weapon. For the first time, the people saw Solari not as an alien, but as a person. A young girl who risked everything for hope that night. As the stars shone over Haven 7, a new signal reached the Colonia Thirani fleet had entered the system. But they weren't attacking. They sent a simple message. "We seek our daughter. We come for peace." Raylan looked at Scheller. Her eyes were wet, but her smile was real. "You did it," he said. "No," she whispered. "We did." But deep inside, they knew not everyone wanted peace. And those people were still out there, hiding, watching, waiting for the chance to strike. The war wasn't over, but the first wall had. The stars above Haven 7 were quiet, but every person on the colony felt the tension in the air. A fleet of Theriani ships hovered just outside the atmosphere, large, sleek, and dark blue like the deep ocean. They didn't fire, didn't move closer, they just waited. Inside the colony's command center, Raylan, Salari, and Nina stood beside Counselor DeMar, watching the main screen. A calm voice came through the speakers. "This is Admiral Lurea Venkoran of the Theriani Peace Fleet. I request to speak to my daughter Salari in safety. Salari's face turned pale. Her voice was soft. That's my mother. Looked at her. You didn't tell me your mother was in the military? She's more than that, Salari said. She was once a war hero. Now she's a rebel fighting against my father's rule. Counselor Damar turned toward them. She's here for peace. This is our chance. Nina crossed her arms. Or a trap. I don't think it is, Raylan said. If they wanted war, we'd already be ash. Salari nodded. Let me speak to her. In the main hall, a secure video feed opened. A tall Theriani woman appeared, strong, graceful, and serious. Her eyes softened the moment she saw Salari. Daughter, she said gently, you are? Safe. Salari nodded because of them. Admiral Lurea looked at Raylan, then at the humans behind him. Thank you for protecting her. You have shown courage. Damar stepped forward. If your fleet means no harm, we welcome peace talks. We do not seek blood, Lurea said. But the warlord's loyalists are following. A second fleet is behind us. They want to silence Salari before her message spreads further. Long until they arrive? Nina asked. Lurea's voice turned cold. Hours. Maybe less. Back in a private chamber, the team gathered to decide their next move. The colony can't fight a full fleet, Damar said. And we can't let Salari be captured. We have to get her off-world, Raylan said. To where? Nina asked. Every system near us is watching. Most governments won't protect her. There is one place, Salari said quietly. A neutral world in the Driexis belt. My mother told me it's safe, protected by the Galactic Peace Network. If I speak there, no one can stop the message. Raylan nodded. Then we'll get you there. We'll never make it alone, Salari said. I need someone I trust. Someone who knows humans and systems. She looked at Ray Len. He blinked. Me, she smiled softly. Yes, you. Nina looked at him. You realize this makes you a target for both sides? Raylan gave a tired laugh. Too late for normal now. Damar handed Raylan a small data crystal. Take this. It holds every copy of Salari's message and the proof of her identity. If something happens, make sure it reaches that council. They left that night under the cover of darkness. Solaire, Raylan, and Nina used a stolen colony transport too. Reached the far hangars, where old diplomatic shuttles were stored.
How?
One was still flight-ready, a fast, lightly armed vessel built for speed. Not combat. As they entered the hangar, Raylan noticed something wrong. A door was open. A shadow moved. Stay. Low, he whispered. Suddenly gunfire rang out. Red blasts hit the walls. Salari dropped behind a crate. Raylan fired back with a pulse rifle. 3 attackers, human extremists, stormed into the hangar. The girl dies tonight, one of them shouted. Raylan hit the emergency blast shield. The door slammed shut, trapping them all inside. Nina flanked. Left, drawing fire. Get her on the ship. Raylan ran, grabbing Salari's hand. Come on, they reached the ramp. Raylan turned and fired. One attacker dropped. Nina hit another with her stun baton. The third turned to run but was caught in a force field and knocked out cold. Raylan jumped into the pilot's seat. Hold on, the shuttle lifted off and shot into the sky. The moment they cleared the colony's upper airspace, a screen flashed. Incoming vessels. Therini Loyalist Warfleet. Salari gasped. They're early. I see them, Raylan muttered. Over a dozen ships appeared, dark and sharp like spears. Weapons charged. But before they could fire, Admiral Lurea's fleet moved into position. A line of peaceful warships stood like a wall between the two groups. The enemy ships paused. Ray Len opened a direct channel. This is Raylan Ward, human, pilot. I am transporting Salari Vencorin under diplomatic protection. Stand down, the enemy replied. You are harboring a traitor. Surrender her or die. Salari stepped into the camera's view. My name is Salari, daughter of the warlord. I carry hope, not hate. I will not return to fear. There was silence. Then the enemy ships began to charge weapons. But Admiral Area's voice cut through. If you fire, You will break ancient codes. My fleet will respond. The enemy ships hesitated. Then one by one they turned away, retreating into deep space. Raylan sighed in relief. That was close. Lorea's voice returned. You have a clear path? Good luck, my daughter. Shuttle jumped into hyperspace. Inside, the cabin was quiet. Raylan took a deep breath, then looked back. Solari was sitting calmly. She looked peaceful now, like a heavy weight had lifted. You still want to go to that council? He asked. Yes. She said, if I speak there, the war can finally end. Elaine nodded. Then let's finish what we started. Nina, bruised and tired, leaned back and smiled. I can't believe we made it out of that hangar. We're not done yet, Raylan said, but we're closer. Outside the window, stars flew by in streaks of white and blue. Salari looked. Out quietly. Do you think people will listen? Raylan smiled. If they hear what I heard, they won't just listen. The shuttle exited hyperspace with a sudden jolt. Ahead, the planet Veratis Prime hung like a shining jewel in space. A peaceful world known for diplomacy, trade, and neutrality. No weapons were allowed near its orbit. No armies, just words, truth, and decisions that shape the future. Raylan leaned forward in the pilot's seat, scanning the controls. We're here, he said. Salary stepped beside him, her silver eyes fixed on the glowing planet. This is where it all ends, she whispered. Or begins, Nina added, sitting behind them, arms crossed. Depends how they react. Shuttle's communication system beeped. A calm voice came through. Unidentified vessel, identify yourself. You are approaching the Galactic Peace Network Council Zone, Raylan replied. This is diplomatic. Shuttle Echo 9, carrying Salari Van Koren, daughter of the Theriani warlord, with urgent data regarding the ceasefire agreement. There was a pause, then confirmed. You are cleared for landing. A council escort will meet you. The shuttle touched down on a landing pad surrounded by tall glass towers and open skywalks. Veratis Prime looked like a city made of light and wind. Peace banners from hundreds of species fluttered in the air. The ground was clean. The air smelled of flowers and sun. A group of peaceful guards greeted them. They wore light blue uniforms and had no weapons, only scanners and translation devices. Welcome, the lead guard said. Council has been expecting you. Raylan kept close to Salari as they were led through a long corridor into a grand hall. 1,000 seats were arranged in a wide circle. Aliens of all kinds filled them, some tall, some tiny, some floating in glass pods. All watching, the center of the chamber was empty. Please, a speaker announced. Step forward. Salari took a deep breath. Raylan put a hand on her shoulder. You've got this, she smiled. Only because you stood beside me. Then she walked into the center. Her voice was soft at first, but steady. I come not as a ruler or soldier, but as a daughter. Someone who has seen war take everything. Homes, families, hope. The crowd listened, silent. I am Salari Van Koren. My father, the warlord of the Theriani, wants the war to continue. But my mother and I believe in another way. Peace. She paused. The data I bring is more than proof. It is a gift. Maps that help avoid danger. Medical tech that can heal both our kinds. Language tools to remove fear between us. She held up the data crystal. This war was built on fear. On lies. But today, we choose truth. A gentle chime echoed through the hall. The data began to play images, files, and transmissions, filling the air above her in a glowing display. Some council members gasped. Others leaned forward, watching carefully. When it ended, silence followed. Then a human ambassador stood up. You risked everything for this? Salari nodded. Yes. Why? She looked toward Raylan. Because someone believed in me. Someone who had no reason to help, but did. That's the future I want for all of us. The ambassador sat down. A tall Theriani representative, older and with deep scars on his face, stood slowly. You abandoned your people, he said. Do you expect us to trust you? Salari looked him in the eye. I didn't abandon them. I want to save them. The representative was quiet for a long moment, then he bowed his head. You are braver than most. Murmurs filled the chamber. Then, one by one, hands and tendrils and claws raised across the seats. The vote for peace had begun. Outside, Raylan and Nina waited with the guards. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, Sailari stepped out. Tears were in her eyes. They agreed. Raylan asked quickly. She nodded, smiling. The council voted for peace. By a strong majority, Nina let out a long breath. You did it. No, Sailari said, looking at both of them. We did it. The next day, messages spread across the galaxy. Ceasefire declared between humans and Therini. New alliance forms. Shared tech and trade promised. Young diplomat praised for ending generations of war. Raylan's name was mentioned in many of them. But when he was asked to speak on the news, he said the same thing every time. I just opened my door. She did the rest. A week later, back on Haven 7, the colony was different. Guards smiled more. Workers talked freely with alien visitors. The walls felt warmer. Sailari stood with Raylan outside the landing dock. You're really leaving? He asked. I have to, she said. The new council wants me to visit the Theriani homeworld, help lead the peace efforts. Raylan looked down. Will I ever see you again? She reached up and took his hand. You saved me, Raylan. And when this is over, I'll find you. He smiled. I'll be right here. She stepped onto the ship, turned back one last time, and waved. Then she was gone. Months passed. Peace didn't fix everything. Some still resisted. Some still hated. But slowly, things changed. Schools taught both languages. Ships flew with mixed crews. Aid moved across stars. Raylan returned to his work fixing doors, checking wires. But he was different now. People nodded at him with respect. Kids asked him about the alien girl. And sometimes, late at night, he would look at the stars and wonder where she was. Then, one evening, a message came through his terminal. Simple, short, but enough. I kept my promise. Sailari attached was a picture of her standing on the Therini homeworld, wearing both a diplomatic badge and her old cloak. Behind her, a new flag flew, half human, half Therini. Raylan smiled. The girl who had been left in his quarters had changed the galaxy.